Now let's apply some colours and textures to this water tank that you've created. First off, we have to make the materials. We know that the tank itself has two material areas for the body of the tank, which will be the corrugated steel, and the top and bottom, which will be a flat swatch of the same colour. So instead of going in through the model, how about we go in through Manage and Materials, and we make these materials. If we go to our Home selection here, we'll find that we've installed the Lysart library. And down here in Custom Orb, I'll click a very obvious colour here, like Mana Red, and I'll put that in to the project. There it is, by double clicking. The other thing I have to do is put in the flat swatch, which is purely just the flat colour for Mana Red as well. So there it is sitting above it. So we've got two new materials in our project. They're both the same, except one of them has a texture of corrugated iron with the associated bump map. The other one has a render of a flat colour. Now, there is a couple of things that you have to change anyway with these Lysarts. I found with the Custom Orb, and probably some of the others, is that when you go to the Graphics tab, which is purely showing you how Revit shows you before it renders, there is no surface pattern. And we do want a surface pattern to show how the ribs and the corrugated steel would be. So we'll put those in as 75mm verticals for the normal material. And now that would be fine within Revit. However, the material that we want to apply to the tank will have these as horizontal and have this image here as horizontal. In order to do that, we have to duplicate the material. So I right click here with duplicate, and that duplicate's come up, and I'm just going to type in after it horizontal. Enter. Now we look at what to change in here. We can change this without affecting the other one, because this is purely how Revit's looking at it because of the Graphics tab here. So we'll change this to the 75mm horizontal model pattern. Now, when we go to the Appearance tab, this is how it will look when you render the image, which will be important when you come to planning drawings, for instance. Notice up here it says a 1. That is because there is one other material in this project that is using that asset. So remember, when you duplicate a material, you don't duplicate the asset. And we have to next now duplicate this material, this asset I should say. So no other materials are using it, because if I change the look of this material now, we would have that one change as well, that material. So let's change this by duplicating. You won't see a 1 after it, by the way, at the moment. And when I duplicate it, it'll put a 2 after it. You'll probably just get a 1. So now what I'll do is I'll stick with my protocol here of just putting horizontal after it, because I am in the horizontal one. And now I'll find that no other materials are using this asset. And I can feel free to go ahead and change the way this render looks, and no other material will be affected. So I click on the image here, and the first thing I do is select Link Texture Transforms. Anything I do here now will be brought across the same effect to any other texture involved with this material. And we want whatever I do here to be applied to the bump map as well. So it's a very handy little thing. If you hover over it, it talks about what it does. So here we're going to put in an angle change of 90 degrees. And now the image has changed 90 degrees. When I hit done, there's the image now changed. And to check that the bump map changed as well, we'll click on the image, 90 degrees, correct. Unfortunately though, what Revit won't show you is the change we made in the rotate. It will still show you the original vertical image. But don't be too concerned. This is what your image will be here. So the essential thing to learn here is when you duplicate a material, in the Appearance tab, i.e. when it gets rendered, the asset doesn't duplicate. You need to duplicate that asset in order to create one that no other material is using. To make this a bit more obvious, when I work with it, I would also rename that first one to be vertical. It is really important as you go through your project that as you create materials, you name them clearly and you make sure that they're all created properly, render images and everything. Because it comes to the point where you have to put out renders and none of your materials are looking like they do within Revit, and it's because that you haven't changed all these Appearance tabs. The flat swatch we don't have to do anything with because it's purely a flat colour. So now we've set those two up and we've created those, we'll hit OK. Now, this tank here, if I click on it, we'll notice it has two materials associated with it. Body, which is around the body, and top and bottom. So if I click Material Body, and we'll go to the Materials, and we'll select Horizontal, and click OK. And then Material Top and Bottom, Materials Editor, and I'll click the Flat Swatch, and we'll click OK. Now, if I hit Apply now, or pull my cursor out of that Properties browser window, we expect that model to go to those colours. Let's see what happens. Why didn't it go to the Mana Red colour? We've got it locked in. We think it should, and this is because when we made this water tank, we did not associate the material properties of those profiles with the actual property that appears here. So let's go back in by just editing that family. We go back in and 3D view. Let's click on the main body and you see the material here. It's fine to keep it by category, but it is not associated. So let's associate that with the one that we put in for it originally. Remember when we made this, we associated all the dimensions with their parameters, but the one thing we didn't do was associate each extrusion with a material parameter. So that's the material for the body. Now this one is associated. Whoops, didn't mean to go to the materials editor. I'll click on that again and we'll go to associate, and that is top and bottom. Because we actually want to apply a clear, sorry, not a clear, but a flat swatch. Underneath, we'll select the profile underneath, or the extrusion underneath, and again, we'll associate that with material top and bottom. Now that that's done, you would save it back out to your computer and load it back into the project. And it will say overwrite the existing version and its parameter values. Yes, please. And there we have the colour and the final render. Remember, I had to turn it to realistic to get that. Consistent colours will give us no shading, purely what Revit graphics look like. Realistic gives you more or less a flat image. And then if we go to ray trace, this is like a pseudo render. So I'll hit the ray trace and see what that comes up like. And that's how the render look. So not too bad. It looks corrugated. I'll stop that and I'll close that. And we'll just come back to realistic. So there we've applied the material there and kept all the rest of our materials safe back in the materials editor to apply to other surfaces.